the freaking hell, man? What the hell is going on? This is ridiculous. What's up, everybody? Fred Richani, TSC, here to quickly recap UFC 321, and I mean quickly. The fans in UAE were very respectful for the most part throughout the show. It was a good crowd. On paper, we at least looked like we're going to see some good action, especially in the main event. It has been, and I just want to make sure I get this right, 454 days since the current undisputed heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall, has fought. And the previous time is when he successfully defended the interim heavyweight championship, which, by the way, he didn't defend because Jon Jones was injured. He defended the interim title because UFC wanted to book a 100-year-old Stipe Miocic who had been retired for 4 freaking years against Jon Jones. And one of the easiest fights of Jon Jones' life. The easiest fight of Jon Jones' life was probably the fight before Stipe against Ciryl Gane, who was in our main event tonight. You may recall Jon Jones just took Ciryl Gane down and submitted him in like a minute, not even. Anyway, finally, we get Tom Aspinall against Ciryl Gane. On paper, Aspinall should have won this fight. But hey, there's some intrigue. It's the heavyweight division. Why do a lot of people not respect Jon Jones as heavyweight champion? Because Jon Jones didn't really fight in the division. He fought Ciryl Gane, who was clearly outclassed and outmatched, and he fought an old-ass Stipe Miocic. He's not one of those guys that has fought in the division for years, and there's a reason most, if not all, MMA heavyweights aren't undefeated. Because crap happens. Anyway, so we get to this fight. Finally, crowd is hot. And I got to say, I'll give credit where credit's due. Ciryl Gane was making Tom Aspinall taste his own blood. Ciryl Gane was firing that jab, looking really good. Aspinall wasn't getting outclassed or anything, but Ciryl Gane was absolutely holding his own. And had this fight gone to the end of round number 1, you could genuinely say, you know what? Believe it or not, 10-9 Gane. And guess what? It was getting intriguing. It was just starting to get intriguing because Tommy Aspinall hasn't been out of round number 1 very much in his career. And, well, Ciryl Gane's reputation has taken a massive hit over the years, and understandably so, because keep in mind, got absolutely destroyed by Jon Jones. And there's no shame in losing to Jon Jones, but getting destroyed by Jon Jones, I mean, Anthony Smith didn't even get destroyed by Jon Jones like that. Like, let's keep it freaking real. Like Anthony Smith, no offense to Anthony Smith, but I'm just saying, Anthony Smith lasted a full 5 rounds with Jon Jones with like an illegal knee or whatever it was back in the day. Like, come on. Number 2, he lost decisively to Francis Ngannou, and then Dana White tried to prop up Gane and say he's the best heavyweight in the world. I don't know, man. They're racing Francis Ngannou like he's Chris Benoit or something. And then finally, we get to the recent example of Ciryl Gane against Alexander Volkov. And yes, that fight was competitive, but Volkov won that fight. Let's keep it real. Volkov won that fight. And even Gane in his face looked like, yeah, I lost that fight. And guess what? He gets rewarded with a world title fight that he did not, quote unquote, deserve. Although deserves got nothing to do with it in MMA. So, hey, I was willing to give it a chance. And what happens just as this fight is starting to get good, just as we're getting towards the end of round number 1, and I am not saying this is intentional, but I'm just pissed off as a fan, Ciryl Gane takes his long fingers and pokes Tom Aspinall in not one, but both eyes. Both eyes. Knuckle deep. To the point where poor Tom Aspinall, who again has been inactive for almost 2 freaking years because of politics, not because of, injury, not because of illness, because of politics. This poor guy straight up says, I can't see. I can't see. And for anybody that's going to call him out and say, oh, booing him and this and that, kiss my ass. I'm sorry. You don't know MMA. You don't know fighting. You don't know you don't understand human biology if you're getting on Tom Aspinall for this. This poor guy got almost 5 minutes. I got to give Jason Herzog credit. I got to give the officials credit this whole show. I got to say, normally MMA officiating is terrible. And while I would have immediately taken a point from Gane, I understand that Herzog was more concerned with the safety of Aspinall. Shout out to Mark Goddard, too. I think he took a point earlier in the show. He stood up some fighters who were just laying and praying earlier in the show. The officiating was actually really damn good. I hope this follows in other shows, because normally we see guys just lay and pray and nothing happens, or commits a foul and nothing happens. So please, MMA officials, continue to enforce the rules. This was great. That was the one bright spot of this pretty bad pay-per-view show. So Tom Aspinall, poor guy, put some water in his eye, can't see. They gave him nearly 5 minutes, which kudos to officials for getting him 5 minutes. There's a lot of referees that try to like coach and encourage them to go back in. It's so stupid. So I'm glad they set a good example here, especially in the wake of the Chauncey Billups and Cherry Rozier, sports betting scandal. Anyway, to skip to the main headline here, this fight was deemed a no contest. So after a year and a half, almost 2 years of Tom Aspinall making no money as a UFC fighter, outside of sponsorships, as his actual living, being a fighter. After over 2 years of Tom Aspinall not fighting, after being in the cage for what? A literal cup of coffee against, I forgot who he fought. Was it Curtis Blades who he knocked out like in just quick fashion? After all this time, and then propping up Ciryl Gane, putting him as this like sham contender. Ciryl Gane actually doing pretty damn well, and then he has to stick his fingers out. Again, I don't want to pick on Gane, but I gotta say, this goes out to every fighter, including some of my faves, all right? Stop leading with your damn fingers. Number 2, referees, like y'all did today, where you actually officiated, take points immediately. Whether, and I'm not getting on Herzog first, I'm just saying in general, moving forward, take points immediately for eye pokes. I don't care if it's intentional or unintentional. You think your car insurance cares if you rear end somebody? Oh, it wasn't intentional. You still rear ended them. So there's that. And number 3, and this is something I don't see the UFC doing, but they really should, considering they got an ass load of money. They're getting paid more in their new Paramount deal than what Paramount and Skydance are worth right now. So I don't even know how that's going to work out, or if the Ellison family is just going to spin off Paramount down the road. But they got the money. Get some new gloves. Was it who was that guy? Was it Trevor Whitman or somebody who introduced like new gloves, and the UFC just decided not to adopt them? Like, this is getting ridiculous, man. It's a safety issue, and also it's a fan issue too. If you want to be just purely selfish and look at it from a fan perspective and a betting perspective, I don't care about the bettors, but I'm just saying it's a business, right? If we look from the business side, fans, people who bet money, eliminating eye pokes would go a long way. And then, of course, most importantly, the fighters. So yeah, this ends in a no contest after all these freaking years. As somebody says in the chat here, what a shit show. Yeah, it was like a 3-finger. Yeah, it was like a 3-finger eye poke. It could have been a DQ. Honestly, I wouldn't have been opposed to a DQ. I'll be completely honest. I would not be opposed to a DQ. I don't really like no contests. I prefer DQs. Like, to me, like, I know a lot of people got an Aljamain Sterling for the quote-unquote beating Petr Yan a few years ago with that legal knee. But you know what? I was glad the referee at the time enforced the rules. You got to do that sometimes. And guess what? Aljo did win the rematch. I know it was like a split decision, but still, he won the rematch. They did the rematch eventually. But that's the thing, man. Like, you got to enforce the rules. It should be a DQ. Like, it should be a DQ. If a low blow causes the end of the fight, I don't care if it's accidental or not, it should be a DQ. If an accidental illegal blow, like, causes the end of a fight, that should be a disqualification. That should be a loss. That should technically be a successful defense for Tom Aspinall. Even if he technically, on paper, or I guess, visually, was losing round number 1. Because it's not his fault that he's trying to press forward and trying to finish Gane, and then Gane sticks his freaking fingers out into his damn eyeballs. Like, come on, man. Look at his slow motion. It was intentional. Look how he presses his eye. Look, I want to give Gane the benefit of the doubt. I've covered him for years. Like, he seems like a nice guy. My criticisms aside of him as a fighter and his weird finishing style, and for whatever reason, UFC loving him like he's, Dana White's like secret nephew or something. That's a little weird. But I like, he doesn't seem like a bad guy or anything like that. But, like, come on, man. And look, sometimes perception's reality. There's going to be a lot of people that don't watch a lot of UFC, or maybe don't give a damn to watch those UFC embeddeds and all that, and they just see this big dude thrust his fingers into another big dude's eyeballs, and they're going to say, what the hell? This is rigged, or this is whatever. And again, it's MMA. It's not going to be under the same scrutiny as other sports, like say the NBA, that's currently getting a lot of flack right now. But I do think there needs to be like some, I hate to say integrity of the game, but you know what I mean? At least like, I don't know, keep things honest. Again, the officiating was good tonight. Shout out to the officials. I hope it stays consistent. That's been the one thing between the judging and the officiating I thought were pretty damn good tonight. You could disagree with the Dern decision. It was a close fight between Dern and Jandiroba. I thought Jandiroba slightly won, but I wasn't mad. Like, I didn't think it was a robbery or anything. It was a competitive fight. I was surprised that every judge gave the decision to Mackenzie Dern to win the strawweight title. Shout out to her. Congrats to her. But, that was one of those fights where it's like, okay, it wasn't bad. The Volkov Gane fight, that was ridiculous. There was like Jared Gordon and Patty Pimblett. Like, that fight was like, okay, like what the hell? O'Malley and Petr Yan. Yeah, like those were like, what the hell? Evan Dunham, Sean Shark back in the day. Yeah. Honestly, I'm surprised Volkov didn't get the title shot here, considering they did sort of sound like they wanted to book him as if he was coming off of a win. And we've set the precedent multiple times, including Yoel Romero. If you remember, he had that close fight with Costa, and they still gave Romero the title shot before Costa against Izzy Adesanya back in the day. But hey, whatever. I mean, look, the bottom line is UFC's in a position just like WWE where it doesn't matter if there's one bad finish to a pay-per-view or whatever, no matter how much money it costs fans, whether live or on ESPN pay-per-view, whatever. Like, they're idiot-proof, fortunately and unfortunately. Gane was so intentional. Who wants to see another Gane title shot? Congrats from Brazil. He did both eyes. Yes, intentional. Yeah, listen, a lot of people think it was intentional. So, yeah. True here says run it back. I don't know. I did a poll here. So right now the poll says, I said, who should Aspinall fight next? 59% say Gane. Actually, it's 60% now. 28% say Pereira. And then 12% say Volkov, who came off of a split decision win over Almeida. I got to say, though, that Almeida fight was brutal through no fault of Volkov. I mean, Almeida, got him down and did like nothing. He didn't really do anything. So, yeah. But if you're just from like, again, the integrity of the game and rankings, all this crap, like I think Volkov should get the next shot, considering he hasn't gotten a heavyweight title shot before. It's a little intriguing. He does have, a long reach and all that stuff. That being said, well, how about this? Let's hope that Aspinall's eye is okay. I think that's the most important thing, right? Let's hope Aspinall's eye is okay. Let's hope he didn't, like, God forbid, get like Bisbinged, or actually, ironically enough, I think Bisbing was the one who, accidentally injured. It was with Alan Belcher's eye back in the day, and Alan Belcher's career ended, or maybe he did some bare knuckle after that. But yeah, let's hope there's no like permanent damage. Let's just hope for that. That's the most important thing. So let's just hope health wise he's okay. He can see. Then let's hope he can still continue his MMA career and fight safely. And then from there, yeah, if Aspinall can be back, and let's just be generous, let's just say 2 months, because that eye injury looked brutal. You could for a first Paramount show do Gane versus Aspinall. There is a built-in storyline there. Again, if you want to give Gane credit, if you don't think he quote unquote deserved to be there in the first place, he did win round number 1. That is true. He did, up to that point, win round number 1. So yeah, you could technically run that back. And look, with Paramount Plus, what is it, $9.99 a month, $15 a month max? I think at the moment they'll probably raise prices because everybody is raising prices. Like a heavyweight title fight on the first Paramount show, or even on the first CBS show, that wouldn't be bad. That wouldn't be a bad marquee matchup there. I mean, I don't think Gane really took a lot of damage, so you could technically run it there. I mean, I would like to do the Pereira fight. Honestly, I would have liked to have done the Pereira fight already, even though I know he just destroyed Ankalaev, and that was an amazing win. Just because, again, Pereira's not getting any younger. You know what I mean? I know he wants to do the John Jones super fight, and I would love to see that fight too. But at the same time, like, John Jones is unreliable. You know what I mean? Like, he just is. Even Dana White outright said it. He is unreliable. You could have Aspinall or somebody be the backup fighter, but then it's not fun. Like, they're fighting on like a week's notice or something. But yeah, I would say like Aspinall has been unintentionally punished enough. You got to keep this guy happy. His dad outright said in an interview recently that he wants, and my phone's blowing up now because of all this crap. Aspinall's dad straight up said he doesn't want his son to renew his contract with the UFC. He wants him to go into boxing, which is wild. Unfortunately for Aspinall, I think the timing is bad either way because UFC is really tight with Saudi. They, of course, launched Zuffa Boxing. The Ali Act is getting gutted, whether you agree with that or not. Fighters are not going to have as many protections. And if Saudi's mostly going to put their boxing money now towards Zuffa and UFC, and we're, people related to UFC like Nick Khan and Dana White, where does that leave Tommy Aspinall? You know what I mean? Like, is Eddie Hearn really just going to throw a ton of money at Aspinall? I mean, maybe, who knows? Maybe the government of Emirates, which funded this show, will say, you know what? We want our own boxing league. We'll get Tom Aspinall and have him fight, I don't know, Francis Ngannou or something in boxing, or Anthony Joshua. I guess that could happen, but that's at least 3 fights down the road. But I don't know. If I'm UFC and I want to be decent here, and I know, LOL, I would reward Tom Aspinall with the super fight. I would not reward him or, punish him with another matchup against Gane, even if Gane did win round number 1, just because, like, come on, man. It's just ridiculous. Like, this guy lost out on just fighting in general, lost out on part of almost 2 years of his prime, lost out on a lot of money waiting around. And yeah, I don't know. He'll make decent money fighting Gane on Paramount or CBS, but it's not the same. It's not the same. Give him Pereira. But then again, Pereira's holding out for the White House, and that's not going to happen until July. So is Aspinall going to wait that long? He's not. But yeah, I don't know. Just a crappy situation for him, man. I feel bad. Jackson Madison says Aspinall as a competitor should want to get this fight back and win decisively. And Victor also points out Gane was winning this fight. That is true. That is true. But man, I don't know. It is a tough. I guess it's bad either way, right? Most fans that have watched Ciryl Gane fight, with respect to Gane, don't want to see him fight for another title again. But there's also a lot of fans here that saw Gane clearly win round number 1 before the stupid eye pokes. And if you're Tom Aspinall, you're not getting any younger, you want a big money matchup, the Pereira fight's right there. But Pereira wants to wait for Jones. Tom Aspinall's dad probably shouldn't have publicly stated that he doesn't want his son to renew his contract. And yeah, I don't know. The real loser in this is Tom Aspinall, even though you technically won this fight by DQ, even though it's a no contest. Let's call it a DQ. He's the real loser here, and that sucks. That really sucks for him. Yeah. Somebody says they feel bad for Gane, not this clown. Okay, listen, man. Try again. Let me poke you in the eye, right? With the 3 fingers, and then you tell me if you can keep fighting. Micah says, I want to see this run back. Tom has nobody else to fight. Well, he technically does. But yeah, if you want to take Pereira off the table, I guess you're right. Gane or Volkov. I mean, Gane's going to be the more intriguing matchup. But again, I personally want to make, pay-per-views are going away anyway. But I personally wouldn't even make people pay for this. I would just put it on like CBS or Paramount or whatever. At this point, I wouldn't even care if you put it on the I don't want the Apex, but I'm just saying, like, however quickly you could run this back with Tom Aspinall being healthy, just run it back. Get it out of the way. Whatever happens, happens. And then we'll see. Anyway, as far as some of the other results before we hop off, and appreciate everybody hopping on for our first live stream in a while. By the way, if y'all are baseball fans, we'll be doing some live streams later of the World Series. Shout out to the Toronto Blue Jays. Great win over the Dodgers, but we'll see if they can continue. So we had Mackenzie Dern beat Virna Jandiroba via unanimous decision, competitive fight for the strawweight title. God bless both women. I think they had a really close fight. All I could think of is, man, Zhang Weili would starch these gals, and if Shevchenko ever wanted to fight at strawweight, she would starch these gals. Yeah, nothing that really spoke to me like, wow, these are legitimately the best fighters in the world. I guess now with Weili out of the division for now, as she goes to fight Valentina next month, yeah, technically they are, but I was not terribly impressed. But look, Mackenzie Dern's got a lot of heart. She fought hard, was very active on the ground as well, even though she was on her back, and got the win. I know UFC is going to try to market her as this big star and everything else with her look and all that stuff. And again, she does work really hard and everything else, but she was 2-2 in her last 4 fights before this fight. I guess there's more intrigue in the division now because with respect to both women, whoever won this fight would be considered a beatable champion. So I guess there's some unpredictability. I guess that's kind of cool for some fans. Umar Nurmagomedov bounced back from his loss to Merab, defeating Mario Batista via his decision. Umar took a big-ass knee to the head, too, and still came through, so shout out to him. Volkov beat Almeida via split decision. Not a good fight. Volkov finally getting on the right side of a split decision, though. Mirzakhanov defeated Alexander Rakic. Vicious punch TKO round number one. I'm feeling for Rakic, man. I think on paper, like, he's a pretty good fighter. He's had some good wins. At one point in his career, he was 14-2, and then I believe like some injuries and bad luck took over. And yeah, this poor guy, man. Like, look at his last four. He's lost four straight. Like, he was coming off of wins over top contenders like Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos at the time when they were top contenders. And since then, he lost to Jan with a knee injury. He looked good against Jiří Procházka, but lost that fight in round number two. Lost to Ankalaev. I mean, everybody loses to Ankalaev except for Pereira in a rematch. And then he lost to Azamat Mirzakhanov, easy for me to say. So, yeah, I don't know if that's the end for him. Normally, in the old days of UFC, they would cut guys after 3 or 4 straight losses and allow them to prove themselves elsewhere. Nowadays, I don't want to say there's no honor, but, this is the same promotion that let BJ Penn lose 7 straight fights before, quote unquote, cutting him. This is the promotion that let, like, Tony Ferguson lose 8 straight fights. I don't think they really care. If you have somewhat of a name, they're going to keep you on the card until, like, you retire or until you really embarrass the company, even if you're embarrassing yourself. So, yeah, maybe Rakic will get another shot. But and also, too, it's kind of crazy how these days I feel like the competition outside of UFC isn't as good. There's still some great fighters like Usman Nurmagomedov, Paul Hughes. I think they belong in the UFC or at the UFC level. But, man, I don't know. Some of these Bellator guys are looking rough. It's a far cry from back in the day. Like Eddie Alvarez did pretty well. Volkov's done pretty well. MVP's done all right. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else off the top of my head, but like those are like the main guys from Bellator that have done all right. I mean, we saw Strikeforce guys back in the day like Luke Rockhold and T Wood do great. Couldn't UFC, Robbie Lawler as well. But yeah, I don't know. Some of these guys fresh off of just Bellator and PFL, it's been a mixed bag for sure. So yeah, overall, what can I say? I mean, there were some finishes on the prelims y'all should go out of your way to see. But in terms of his main card, if you paid a full $80 for it, yeah. Not great. Not great. Sam Vaughn's here saying change the pride goes. They got to change the gloves for sure. Yeah. Who wants to see a rematch of the Dirty Fighter? Yeah, I feel that. It is what it is. Oh, well. Well, we'll see what happens, folks. But yeah, I'll just end the poll right here. Gane, 64. People want to see Gane. Okay. So people want to see Gane rematch Aspinall. It's about a little over 60%, followed by Pereira and followed by Volkov in last place. Hey, I like Volkov. Maybe Drago will get a shot eventually. Anyway, thank you so much, folks, for watching. Stay tuned. We'll be posting any news that comes out of this. Hope Tom Aspinall gets better. Ciryl Gane, man. Bro, you were winning that fight. What are you doing? What are you doing? Again, I'm not saying it's intentional, but what are you doing? Until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the fights. Sorry to all the fans who bought this pay-per-view. Sorry to all the bettors that bet on this fight. Ugh. Just, don't pull a Chauncey Billups. As always, enjoy the fights and have a great weekend.